David Phelps stood tall as a shining figure in gospel music. With a voice that could move mountains and a heart deeply anchored in faith, he wasn't just known as a singer, he was a powerful experience. From massive concert halls to the quiet corners of churches, his voice became a source of hope. It touched millions and stirred hearts around the world. David wasn't just talented, he was passionate. Starting as a dream-filled boy, he grew into a powerhouse vocalist, delivering every note with deep emotion and conviction. When he joined the Gaither Vocal Band, everything changed. His soaring tenor became the heart of the group. Whether lifting spirits with an anthem or bringing listeners to tears with a gentle hymn, his voice had a way of reaching people right where they were. But his gift was more than just vocal ability. It was about connection. Each lyric felt intimate, and every performance felt like a personal moment shared between hearts. Fans often felt like he was singing directly to them, about their pain, faith, and joy. Outside the Gaither spotlight, David's solo career thrived. Albums like Life is a Church and Freedom proved that his creativity stretched far beyond traditional gospel. He was more than a singer, he was a storyteller, blending scripture with sound, tradition with innovation. His music wasn't simply heard, it was experienced. His concerts felt like worship, reflection, and celebration all at once. People admired not just his vocal range, but also his gentle humility. Even with fame, David kept his priorities clear. He often spoke about his deep love for his wife, his children, and the peace of home life. While others chased fame, David stayed rooted in faith and family. But behind the standing ovations, something deeper was happening, something even his closest fans didn't know. Privately, David was beginning to struggle. Years of touring, constant pressure, and life in the public eye were starting to weigh heavily on him. At first, it showed up as simple fatigue, missed rehearsals, longer breaks. But it wasn't just physical exhaustion. There was a deeper burden he couldn't shake. Backstage, he'd sit quietly, rubbing his temples. His once boundless energy started to fade. The vibrant performer fans adored now appeared tired between songs. Then came the most difficult part, his voice began to falter. During rehearsals, he'd stop mid-note, clear his throat, shake his head. Something was wrong. He tried to brush it off as stress or allergies, but those closest to him could see the truth. He was struggling, and it wasn't going away. Soon, shows were being canceled. At first, just a few. His team released vague statements, scheduling conflicts, unforeseen issues. But rumors began to spread. Was he ill? Was he burning out? Was David stepping away? His once busy social media pages went quiet. Friends grew concerned. Fans waited. Still, David kept smiling, gently saying, "I'm just taking it easy. Nothing to worry about." But there was something to worry about. Then, at a private gathering surrounded by close friends and longtime supporters, David stepped onto the stage. He greeted the room with his usual warmth, but something felt different. There was no big show, just David, open and vulnerable. Taking a deep breath, he began, "Over the past few months, I've been facing a challenge I never expected." The room went still. "I've been dealing with a health condition that's affected my energy, my ability to perform, even my voice." He didn't reveal every detail, but it was enough to shake everyone present. Whether it was a vocal issue, a neurological struggle, or something more serious, one thing was clear. David Phelps, the voice that had inspired so many, now needed encouragement and prayers of his own. Tears welled in the eyes of those listening. There were gasps, soft sobs. The man who had lifted their spirits for years now stood before them, unsure of what came next. "For so long," he said quietly, "my voice has been my gift and my calling. But recently, I've had to face the possibility that I may not always be able to share it like I used to." He paused, scanning the room. "I don't know what the future holds," he added. "But I do know this, my faith is stronger than ever. And I trust that God. He always had a plan, on stage or off." This time, there was no music, no grand performance. Just a man, courageous, honest, broken, but not defeated. In that quiet moment, David Phelps wasn't just a gospel icon. He was a husband, a father, a believer, a human being. News of his announcement spread rapidly. Across the world, fans flooded social media with love and prayers. Gospel artists, celebrities, and everyday people alike shared stories, videos, and heartfelt tributes. They weren't just honoring a singer, they were lifting up the man who had touched so many lives. Concerts were canceled, tickets refunded. The stage that once carried his powerful voice went quiet. For the first time in years, David Phelps stepped away from the spotlight. But he wasn't alone. His wife, children, and deep faith became his steady ground. In the quiet of home, in the places where applause couldn't reach, David began a new chapter. It wasn't about performances anymore, it was about healing. Though the future was uncertain, one truth remained. For years, David had been a shining light in gospel music, a voice that moved mountains and comforted hearts. But behind those soaring notes and standing ovations, no one could have seen the storm that was about to shake everything he had built. David had always kept his faith and family close, but life now demanded he slow down more than ever. Something shifted. Serious health issues surfaced, ones he couldn't ignore. Suddenly, the spotlight faded. The stage went dark. David Phelps vanished from the public eye. He stayed home, surrounded by the people who meant the most to him. And in that stillness, he began to question more than just his career, he questioned his purpose. Where was God leading him? What was the meaning behind this unexpected break? Rumors began circulating in the music community. Some believed he would return, stronger than before. Others weren't so sure. Had we already heard the final notes of a once-in-a-generation voice? Music executives, collaborators, even close friends were left wondering. Could he still record music if he couldn't perform live? Would his voice ever be the same? Or would he redirect his talents, through writing, producing, or guiding new gospel artists? The questions lingered. But no one, not even David, had the answers yet. One thing, however, never changed, his unwavering faith. In a deeply personal letter posted online, David finally spoke. He thanked his fans for their love, support, and patience. And with heartfelt honesty, he shared, even in this difficult season, I know God is guiding my path. My voice may rest, but my message will never fade. It had never been just about the music. It was about the message, the connection, and the spirit behind every song. As weeks turned into months, there were still no public appearances or performances. Just silence, and growing concern from fans. Would he return? Or had he already made the quiet decision to walk away? Some feared they'd seen his last performance. Others held on tightly to hope, praying for a miracle. Then suddenly, a message appeared on his official social media. No dramatic lead-up, no explanation, just a simple post, I have something to share with you all. Join me this Sunday. Those words lit a fire of speculation. Was this a final farewell? Or the return his fans had been hoping for? Anticipation surged. When Sunday came, thousands tuned in from around the world. Hearts raced. Eyes locked on screens. Then, the video faded in. There he was, David Phelps. Sitting in a warmly lit studio, his gaze soft, his expression calm. He looked different, peaceful. There was a quiet strength in his eyes, the kind that only comes from walking through deep trials and emerging stronger. He took a breath and began to speak. These past months have been the hardest of my life. I've faced challenges I never imagined. There were days I didn't know if I'd ever sing again. But through it all, God never left me. His words were raw and honest, filled with emotion. He spoke about his doubts, his fears, the moments he questioned everything. Then, finally, he said what everyone had been waiting to hear, I'm not done yet. Relief swept across the audience. Tears filled eyes. Smiles returned. David Phelps was still here. Still fighting. Still singing. He explained that while the journey ahead might look different, fewer live performances, more time with family. His voice hadn't gone anywhere. His purpose was alive and strong. And then, to prove it, he picked up the microphone. He closed his eyes, inhaled deeply, and began to sing. The first note came soft, almost uncertain. But then, like a spark catching flame, his voice rose, strong, steady, unbreakable. It wasn't just a performance. It was a declaration. A testimony of grace, resilience, and the enduring power of faith. People around the world, watching from their homes, their phones, cried. Not just because of the beauty of the song, but because of what it meant. David Phelps had given them more than music. He had given them hope. And whether this marked a comeback or a farewell, one truth rang clear. He still had something to say.